So first, before we get started, there's an interesting little note I'd like to make. When I was editing this video, I could hear nuances in the sound of the guitar that I couldn't hear when I was recording in the room. So just a little point there that the recorded sound and the live room sound are a bit different. Just an interesting note, but enjoy. Hey guys, today I'm gonna do a little video about this pedal, a very hated and beloved pedal at the same time, the Metal Zone pedal. So I see a lot of people give this thing a lot of hate. I'm not quite sure exactly why. Uh, I mean, when I was younger, I bought one of these when I was like 16, 17 years old, and I loved it. I was in a metal band at the time, and this was perfect, especially since we switched between clean and high gain a lot in that band. I needed something to switch it, and I just used practice amps at the time. I didn't have anything, any kind of big Marshall stack with pedals and stuff like that to switch the clean sound and the dirty sound. So finding this pedal was actually really cool because it was expensive at the time. It was like about $100, and we're talking over 20 years ago. And I think it's still around the same price today. So, the price stayed. So I guess the value of it kind of dropped a little bit. Probably because there's so many different types of pedals out there nowadays. In fact, I have another distortion pedal. This is this one, which I'm not going to go into today, but I can do one on this. I'll do another video on this pedal. And this one, I don't like it as much, to be honest. And it's way cheaper than this one, but it's also less versatile. So first thing I want to point out about this thing is that it has a 4-set equalizer. Like it has 4 sets here. It has the low, the high, the mid, and then the mid frequency. So you can actually you can boost your mids or drop your mids, and then even change the frequency of the mids, which is really cool. A lot of pedals just have highs and lows. This one has mids as well, and you can also manipulate the frequency of the mid range. So I think just by that alone, we've already stepped a little bit above most other distortion pedals. Like here, I'll show you this one. I got a bunch of these. And this one has low, high, and then grunge is supposed to be the gain, right? And then loud is the volume. So these were the DOD pedals. These were cool back in the day. Like I used to want one of these because I thought this sounded great. And they do actually sound pretty good. I'm a little bit picky about it now. And I think out of these 3 that I just showed you, I think the Metal Zone is the best one. But I think I may understand, I think I may know why the Metal Zone pedal gets so much hate. And I think it has to do more with the inability to actually use this pedal properly rather than the pedal sucks. Because man, I can make that Fab pedal sound pretty good, even though it's like a $25 pedal. That thing's cheap, But I can still make it sound pretty good, but I have to manipulate the tones, my amp, right, and the gain settings just to get it to sound where I would like it to be. The grunge pedal, I think it sounds pretty good, but I think it's a little too much. The distortion kind of squelches the sound a bit, and I'm not really into that as much as I was back in the day when I was doing more into the punk rock stuff. Nowadays, there's like a certain kind of tone I want to get, and the Metal Zone, it's always given me that tone, and it still does to this day. So, by the way, I'm not endorsed by Boss or any of these companies, so this is just me making a video about it. All right, so let's check this thing out. So what I want to do is I want to make it sound bad, and then see if we can make it sound good. So we're gonna experiment with that. So let me plug this thing in. All right. So first thing is I have a clean setting. My clean setting, everything's at noon. So I put the low, mid, and highs on my amp at noon. And by the way, just in case you want to know, I'm using the MX15R Crate practice amp. It's a little tiny amp. I think the sound is great though. I love the sound, and I would definitely use it if I could get like another. I think the speaker on it is amazing. It has a very nice sound to it. Even the distortion sound on that amp is really nice. And Crate, I think Crate was a very underrated company because they made really good stuff. And I think, however they set up their speakers was really good. All right, so this is the clean sound. On my guitar, my tone is all the way up. Like right now it's warm, and I like to have my tone bright on my guitar. So I always have it on the brightest setting. Okay, so now everything's at noon on the amp. I'm gonna put everything at noon on the pedal here. So everything's at noon on the pedal, including the distortion. The distortion's like straight up. And now let's turn this thing on and see what we got. Okay, so I'll have to turn the volume up. So that's the first thing. The volume isn't at noon, it's a little bit down, but let's see if we can get it. Okay, that should be pretty good. Okay, so, all right, so now we have our gain on. Everything's at noon right now. And already, like this doesn't sound too bad already. Like I can. It actually already sounds pretty decent. You know, like if I turn the gain, so first thing I'm going to do and try to make it sound bad is I'm going to turn the gain all the way up. So now I turn the gain all the way up. Let's see what happens. Being out of tune does not count. So you can hear there's a little bit of like the squelching going on. Oh wow, look at that. So there is a setup on my guitar, and I kind of got surprised by that. On my guitar, I have the two pickups, and on the two pickups, the volume is all the way up. I turn it all the way up, and that's on my bridge pickup, and it's always like that on all my electric guitars that I can do this on. So my Les Paul and this one, but this pickup I usually keep on, like I keep it very low, and that way I can flip like this to get a clean sound just through using the amp's distortion. But what I found was that by having this distortion turned all the way up, I just noticed that even this still has it still has a lot of distortion on it. So I can't actually do some of the like tricks that, like that. I have to turn the pickup all the way off now to do. So, and I usually so I have 3 settings with this. The one turned all the way up. This one is turned down to a point where the distortion kind of gets cleaned out. But I can't do that right now with this setting. So this is probably one of the issues people may be complaining about. And then I use a blend setting if I'm playing clean and I just want to put in a little bit of bite on like a lick or something. I'll do that, but it's not working right now. So we'll go into that. All right, so that's interesting. That distortion still, I mean, it actually kind of works though. If I was going to do some kind of blues thing here, maybe warm the tone up. But remember, that's with the pickup almost completely off. So the volume's turned all the way down. It's like down to like 1. Because now it's at 0, right? So it's just turned up a little bit. But we have the pickup all the way on. So you're starting to get like that squelchiness in the sound here. And now I can't do that. So that's problem number 1, is the fact that when the gain is turned all the way up like that, there's not much you can do versatility wise. It's kind of, it's, you know, the whole thing's thick, it's heavy, you know, you can, and it's a little bit on the muddy side, just a little bit, but it still has a nice crunch to it. So I'm going to turn the gain down a bit, and then we'll put it back on noon. And I'm going to turn the highs up a little bit. Let's turn the highs up. Let's see. So now the highs are at 3 o'clock. Let's see what happens to the sound. All right, so that was, now the distortion's back on noon, and the highs are up to 3 o'clock. Something like that. And now you can hear the sounds more of that like early thrash metal type of sound. So it has like that. Yeah, you can hear it. It's got that crispness that early thrash stuff had. Although I think the gain still might be a little bit too high for that kind of stuff. Maybe. Turn this back up. But it's not bad. It doesn't sound too bad. I think. I'm trying to get this thing to sound nasty, like really bad. Like, oh my God, I can't stand the sound. But that's not happening. So now let's turn the bass up a little bit and see what happens. So now we put the low end in. And man, it thickened it up for sure. As expected. But we still hear that squelchiness in it. It's in there. It's not so bad, but it is in there. So there is something going on with the sound right now that kind of gives it like this layerness of like some kind of, something. But I think overall we got a nice crunch here. So that could be like that mid crunch. So here's what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put everything back to noon and I'm going to turn the mids all the way down. So the frequency of the mid is still in the center, but the mids themselves are all the way down. Wow, I like kicked out the sound, didn't it? We'd have to definitely turn up the volume then on that. But yeah, so you can see it took away the fatness that we had in there, or some of the punch that was in there. So the volume's definitely dropped a bit from that. But now I got my clean sound on the clean setting that I have on my guitar. But it's hard to hear it. Although my middle sound is really punchy. It's still kind of soaked, it's still kind of soaked in that distortion. So now I brought the high and low back up to 3 o'clock. So let's hear how that sounds now. All right, so the highs and lows are definitely a big part of this. In fact, I think it has a better sound to it now that we cut out the mid. And this is still with the amp setting still at noon, okay? So if I wanted to, I could start manipulating the amp setting. I'm gonna do that now. I'm trying to get it to sound bad, but I can't really get it to a point where I just can't stand the sound yet. It's like maybe I'm just more tolerant of this pedal than other people. I don't know, something. Or maybe it's my amp, because the Crate amps sound very nice. I don't know, maybe people are using some crappy amps or something. I don't know. But let's see. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn the gain down more. So now the gain is at 9 o'clock. All right, so it's down a lot more. And we still got a nice... You know, we got like a classic rock type of sound going on now. It's still a little bit gainy for that kind of sound, but you can get away with using it if you're playing like some... right? So you can get away with that. Or like, that's like some Van Halen stuff or something. So, although I think with that, personally, I would change the setting to do some Van Halen on there. Yeah, I just don't feel like there's enough. I'm trying out these pinch harmonics too to see how they sound. But yeah. Something like that. The Zoo by the Scorpions. I'm trying. So I guess you could get away with certain songs, but it's not going to work for everything. And that's at the distortion being at 9, right? 9 o'clock. So I do want to mess with the amp sounds a little bit because I think the amp settings are just as important as the pedal settings themselves. So I think this could be another mistake that people make with this type of pedal, or probably just pedals in general, is that their amp sound may not be up to what it should be at, you know? So let me see. So I'm going to add a little bit more gain back on. I'm going to put it at noon again. And then I'm going to change the amp settings a little bit more. I'm going to turn the high up a little bit. I'm going to turn my mids down a little bit. And I'm going to keep the low on noon. Okay. So I changed that setting. Let's see how it sounds now. So now I can start to see, okay, so the highs are turned up. It's getting a bit muddier, actually, from doing that. I turned the mid down. I kept the low where it was on noon. And I can hear that it is getting a bit muddier. So the sound is good for certain types of riffs. Like something like that, like a nice chugging. But it doesn't seem to work good for something like black metal. Or maybe not. That doesn't sound too bad. I don't know what... So I think, well, one thing is that if you're playing it cleanly, like if you're playing whatever you're doing is clean and not sloppy, it'll definitely sound better no matter what kind of pedal you're using. But I can hear like that there is that little bit of squelchness going on in here. But I'm not satisfied with the sound. I'm kind of giving up on making it sound bad. Now I just want to make it sound good. That's, you know, the true musician inside me is like, oh God, I gotta make the sound better. You know, it doesn't sound too bad. Like it's tolerable, but I can feel like I'm not too happy with the way it sounds right now. Like it has that bite that I like, but it doesn't have that warmth that I'm looking for in it as well. So I'm going to mess with the sounds a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lows on the pedal. I'm going to turn that up a bit. It was up already. I forgot about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the highs on the pedal. I'm going to turn the highs down just a little bit. And that kind of cleaned that up for me anyway. But it's it depends what kind of sound you're going for here, right? So I don't have the distortion turned all the way up. It's at noon. If I turn it up any more, I think I'm going to be a little unsatisfied with how it sounds. But the mids have been turned all the way down. And we can actually change the frequency of it as well. We never did that. So let's put the mid back at mid. Now that sounds pretty good. I like it when there's some mids in there, right? A lot of guys like to take the mids out, and depending what kind of with this pedal, I think adding the mids in makes it work better. So it gets a pretty good sound there when we put the mid back in, but now we can change the mid frequency. So let's see what we get. So I turned the frequency all the way down, so it's all the way to the left. Let's see what we got. Yeah, see, now it's like very punchy because it turned the mid frequency all the way. So that might be good for certain things, like doing some certain kinds of lead melodies or something. Yeah, that would be good for stuff like that, but I don't think it would be good for a rhythm guitar. Well, my rhythm guitar anyway. So maybe it'll work for someone else's. Alright, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to turn the mid frequency all the way to the right. Not too bad. I think it sounds pretty good. So now, I can see the frequency when it's all the way to the left. All right, it gives you like these really high ends, the higher ends of it. But when you turn it all the way to the right, it gives you more of that low end. But it's kind of the sound I was looking for personally, to get more of that warmth that I'm looking for inside that tone. Like I still want that crunch, but I want some warmth with it as well, because then I can actually use it to go back and forth between playing my rhythms and the leads. So it seems to work. It seems to work pretty good for that. But I don't want it to be too warm either. So I want to make sure, so I'm going to mess with the frequency a little bit just to get what kind of a better middle range sound here. All right, so I turned the frequency down. It's a little bit, it's like 2 o'clock. That's where it's at. And I think that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. So all right, so it's not too bad. We have, you know, I got a nice crispness in the lead. I have a nice warmth in the rhythm. And I still keep some of that crunch. I still got that crunch going on. And those pinch harmonics sound pretty good. It is a pretty versatile pedal. We can do, there's a lot more stuff we can do with it. I'm not going to really go into more stuff in this video, but just to give you an idea, the more you play around with this thing and just play with the sound and use your amp sounds as well, you're going to start to find that maybe this pedal isn't as bad as everyone says it is. All right, so, you know, let me know what you think. Comment below. Tell me, you know, how much you hate this pedal, the reasons why you hate it, or why you love this pedal, or if you have mixed feelings about it, right? So let me know what you think. Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit notifications so that you can stay updated on every video that comes out. Thanks for watching.